Greetings everyone, and welcome to the Planet Ripple Logs. Log 17 Holiday begins with Joel's pirate profile. Luber had one in Volume 2, and these become an off and on recurring thing for the Barracuda gang and beyond. Following the formula established by the first two chapters of Volume 3, we open with the heaviest flashback yet to Minnow's early days. Jody's so sick of Minnow watching Charles, that they smash the tape. In retaliation, Minnow punches through the TV. And Jody takes her arm away to sell for a new TV, leaving Minnow in a closet. This is one of the hardest scenes to go back to. Minnow, not called that yet, wrecking the TV with a small child responding to abuse. Jody, while not that much older than Minnow, was effectively her guardian at the time, and though they never struck Minnow, destroying that tape makes the threat of physical violence implicit. If someone smashes the kid's Xbox, that kid's thinking they could do that to me. And depriving Minnow of her disability aid, a body part, is directly harming her even if it seems more symbolic. In Volume 2, Minnow said she feels disconnected from her bionics, not thinking of them as part of her, but more like shoes. Real-life people's attachment or lack thereof to their own bionics and other disability aids will vary. But in Minnow's case, this childhood trauma may be the biggest reason she doesn't get attached to most of her limbs. It's a learned dissociation. Present Minnow is introduced to one of Ripple's biggest locations, Porto Berai. Portus is a giant flotilla that's grown over many generations as new platforms are added to it. There's even a giant projector in the middle with a holographic tree to give humans hope of one day reconnecting to their roots on land. I had a lot of fun with the architecture. Its smooth and futuristic parts contrasted by structures clearly cobbled together from boat parts. These latter structures are an early look at the sorts people will first build on land in later books. As repairs on the Persida's damage from Volume 2 begin, Minnow and Danny have a chance to explore and...
You shouldn't let your friend read those comic books. They're a device of the devil. Those books are filled with evil messages intended to turn our youths astray, to destroy their minds. The text comes directly from the hands of demons.
Who is that? No one important. So what books did you get? Well, this one's about a kid that a sea monster attempts to possess, but the boy is so kind and pure that it doesn't work. Then he uses the sea monster's power to fight other monsters. I flipped through it and it looks cool. Oh, don't let her catch you reading that. Yeesh. Yeah, it's a look at where I was at the time. This is a pretty big Easter egg for my earlier readers. I'd only recently stopped working on my Devilman fanfiction to focus on this series. I worked on a lot of fan comics in those days, from Devilman to Thomas, to test my range and see what kinds of stories I could handle before I was confident enough to push ahead with Ripple. Fittingly, there's also a Thomas allegory. I used to watch this show when I was little. Back then they film modeled toys of the characters so their faces didn't move. That's one of the big things that attracted me to the show because it helped me understand what their facial expressions meant. The camera would linger a bit, giving me time to read the face. Now they're animated and move like real faces do. I don't know if the kids growing up who are like me will have as easy a time connecting with them. Yeah, I see that from my own kid. He still likes it, but everything's so fast now. Too flashy. This was the one show he could watch without getting overstimulated because of the slower pace. Now it's starting to look like every other cartoon. So, if you don't mind me asking, are you a neurovariant like him? Class 40? Yeah. I didn't even know there was a comprehensive list of all the different types until fairly recently. Yeah, this was me poking fun at Bweba, or Big World Big Adventures, which started airing a couple months after Volume 3's release. But we knew what kind of show it was going to be while I was working on Volume 3. If anything, it was worse than we expected. Thomas's appeal isn't exclusive to autistic kids, but it does have a special extra layer of enjoyment for us. Autistic children and adults get overstimulated easily. And in a time where every show is competing for attention, getting flashier, faster, more aggressive, Thomas and Friends was a sensory oasis. The slower, more boring style was something we could handle, and they took that away, making it just as bright and hectic as everything else. And then they doubled down with All Engines Go. I remember parents writing angry letters to Mattel for hanging their autistic kids out to dry by leaving them nothing to watch. Now both those eras of Thomas have come and gone, and a new era that looks more authentic is on the horizon. Fingers crossed they won't go out of their way to give today's autistic kids sensory overload. For all my talk about autism, the word itself is never used in Planet Ripple. They may have different names for it in Minnow's time, And here's the first instance of someone using the word neurovariant, the planaripple equivalent of neurodivergent or neuroatypical. At least one reader has told me they actually prefer neurovariant over those currently used terms. I wish we'd use it in real life. We learn a lot about Danny in these chapters. I used to work with them on the ship I moved to as a refugee. I was looking for friends and they had a place for me. I became their token. It's something a lot of organizations do. If they have an agenda that targets a certain group of people, they'll get someone from that group to throw the rest of the group under the barge. If someone wants to bash cyborgs, they get a cyborg to do it. If they want to bash merfolk, they get a merfolk aboard to do it. That way they can go, see? We didn't say those things. You heard the truth from their own mouths. That's what they wanted me to do. I was the one person working on their team who actually has our condition. Now they're just people who can never truly understand our perspective speaking for us anyway. They say they want to help us, but sometimes it seems more like they want to create a future where people like us don't exist, where no one is born this way. This was me throwing shade at multiple entities, such as ones that claim to speak for us, but really just want us all to go away, and certain news groups who will get a black person, or a gay person, or a detransitioner to smear whatever group they want to that day. It's kinda sad how little such things have changed for the better, if not worse, in the near decade since this dialogue was written. It isn't enough to spread awareness of autistic people while making us sound alien and scary. What we need is acceptance. The next scene? Oh boy, believe it or not, these walls of text used to be bigger before I ran this page by a fellow writer and they had some suggestions. It's not the first moment like this. Several needlessly rambly scenes in 1 and 2 I could cut down by like half now. But this is a turning point for Planet Ripple, one of the last scenes to read like this. The dialogue becomes much more concise from here, which you can also sort of see reflected in video scripts like Lego Rewind. Anyway, here are some more animals that survived the flood. There are facilities today where you can sit and let curious young penguins investigate you. You can't pet them or engage directly, but you can at least be part of the scenery. When I drew this, I'd hoped I might get the chance to experience this by now, but life moves slowly. On Kefir, Kelsey learns more about the guy he met outside that pirate bar, and the mysterious giant merfolk swimming outside Sunday's office. Jumping ahead a bit, the latter is Betty, a shark merfolk. And yes, she was the one who saved Yolm in his flashback. Shark merfolk are one of the more dimorphic species. Without getting too deep into the mechanics, the boys are about the same size as a normal human or dolphin merfolk, but the girls are huge, ranging 2 to 3 times that. They're so heavy that it isn't safe for them to walk on land. If they trip or run or even jump, they'll break their legs, so they're limited to crawling or just laying down, for as long as their gills stay wet. They can stand in water up to their shoulders just fine though, and most prefer to level with smaller people in shallowish waters. Like humans and Noma's people, some shark merfolk transition. Depending on how early, trans-mask sharks can remain pretty short, though still maybe a couple feet taller than your average cis one, and trans-femme sharks can get almost as tall as the average cis shark lady. Like anemone folk, shark merfolk are all mute, but unlike the anemone folk's made-up 7-finger code, shark merfolk, who only have 4 digits on each hand, use modern American Sign Language. Keep an eye on those hands, and other mute or deaf characters down the line. Referencing actual real-world signs has been one of the more fun forms of disability rep for me as an artist. Joshua here used to be part of Barracuda's circle, but was rejected after becoming a cyborg. His bionic organ isn't visible aside from a scar, but just the knowledge that it's there, Barracuda was just that much of an ableist in those days. So Kelsey better make the most of his time in her circle before he becomes ugly and she throws him away too. We see a more luxurious side of Kefir, which reveals it to be thousands of years old, and big enough for whales to swim inside it. Dining with the queen, he spots somebody holding a scalpel, calls them out in a panic, and gets them killed, unsure if they were actually making an attempt on the queen's life or not. He just keeps failing upward. Thank you, Kelsey. That wouldn't be the first time someone scratched at my face over dinner. We're then properly introduced to Derek, and get to see Hack for the first time since Volume 1. Yeah, almost forgot about him. Hey, buddy. You gonna sulk all day, or you care to cause some mayhem? I need help smoking out a Navy rat for Lubor. She sounds like she's got serious game. Yeah, sure. I ain't got nothing better to do today. Whoa, yeah, Derek! You there, take my cape as a souvenir. Thank you. And this one's for the ladies. Well, anyone who wants it, really. Bam! Come on, Hack, you do it too. Strut your stuff. Don't be ashamed. Log 18. Giant. Do it below my freckles, okay? I want a shark lady. You know what they look like? Yep. You want her to have a name? Yeah, something simple and kind of blunt like Oops. Hey! You. What if he was touching my face and that was my eye? Do you want to hurt me? The noise. It made me jump. Hey, this isn't a package deal. Lose the lump or we'll lose you. Stop clinging to me. I can't take you everywhere I go. Maybe next time if you learn how to act right. Great, you chased another boyfriend away. I was really hopeful it would work out this time, but you just kept pushing, driving your wedge between us because you don't ever want me to leave you, because you hate change. I'm not going to waste my whole life looking after you, trying to figure you out. Let's face it, one of these days you'll probably screw up so badly I'll have no choice but to cut you loose. If you think I'll let you pull me down with you, think again. I don't mean to be screwed up. Yeah, I'm sure some of y'all relate to this. Minnow isn't just my own experiences. Sometimes, but she's an amalgam of many neurodivergent people. You might see yourself in them because moments like this, all these self-loathing thoughts, are pretty common. In the present, we see a new civilian look for the Dauphin with a greenish tint, hazard stripes, and a light, seeing how it handles manual labor. It's a definite step up from the forklift-like zoot she used the first time she did this sort of thing. That's it, huh? Doesn't look like much. Don't be fooled. That tiny zoot is the one that defeated Joel. They just dressed it up to look like a utility vehicle. And you're saying there's some of a person in there? Yes, it's not that different from my own machines that way. Minnow is incomplete. What a silly name. Not the least bit imposing. That's how she presents herself. So how long do I tail her for? Minnow instantly recognizes Hack, but Hack doesn't know it's her in there until she corners him and gets real close. Enter Derek slicing up the deck. Say, Lubor, you happen to have a picture of this person's face, not just their zoot? That's her? Why didn't you show me before? Wait, do you know her from somewhere? Yes! Are you familiar with her tactics? She pretends to be sweet and charitable, but it's all an act. She's really quite underhanded. No, you don't get it. She isn't sneaky or cunning or any of that. She isn't that smart. She really is soft. You were beaten by a mental child. Congratulations. You don't think she's smart, huh? If she's as daft as you say, how did she outwit you, or me, or Joel? I don't... Nice little character moment for Lubor, him defending Minnow, even if it's to protect his own ego. Hey there, party girl. I don't know if this has ever crossed your mind, but some of us enjoy being pirates. We aren't slaves. Do you have any idea how many families live aboard the Queen's flagship? Individuals who have never picked up a gun or sword in their lives? My exploits have benefited thousands over the years. When the Queen is happy, the people are happy. By serving the masses, I serve her. That's why I'm her favorite. This flashback may seem a little random, starting as character building and transitioning to world building and exposition. Denny was born without a thyroid. Yes, you can live without it, but not without supplements. I have family in this boat, and it's annoying when people suggest things like special diets to improve organ function for an organ that doesn't exist. So this was a chance to educate people. One trick I enjoy as a writer is introducing a disabled character in one book, but revealing the disability in, say, the next book, or at least a few chapters later. Leading with a disability can feel gimmicky, like that's the entire point of a character. They are their disability. But getting to know other aspects of someone, and then learning they were dealing with this the whole time, is interesting, I think. At least with invisible disabilities like a missing thyroid. Heck, Minnow's a title character and I didn't even show her limbs immediately, not till after the prologue. This talk about healthcare prompts Noma to ask why humans are so uncaring towards the poor and infirm and even just people they don't know, compared to the more community-minded merfolk. The way I wrote this is very clunky, painting dolphin merfolk as some benevolent monolith. You could say that's just Noma's biased view of her own people, though, which we'll see challenged in later books, as merfolk have the capacity to be every bit as petty and judgmental and cowardly as humans when tested enough. I am deeply frustrated, especially this last decade, by people who need to go through something personally before they care. People who only care about their own family, if even that. Maybe neighbors and friends, that's negotiable. and are just fine screwing everybody else as long as they think it won't affect them, only changing their tune once it does. Not directing this at anyone in particular, but you shouldn't have to actually go through something yourself to take it seriously. Then there are people who just hold themselves to a different standard, thinking it's fine when they need help, assistance programs, but look at everyone else who needs it and think, well, they're bums. Not like me, I'm the main character of life, I'm special, I have good reasons. Not bad reasons like them, they had it coming. Much like today, people like Minnow are scapegoated as a burden on the economy. But as Noma explains, what's really hurting the trade-based human economy is decades of increased pirate activity making people too afraid to meet and trade, since Barracuda took over. I'll be frank, I really don't want to fight you. You're so small and cute it feels like bullying. If I had my way, I'd evacuate every single person from that ship and break it in two. I'd shatter your queen's empire at the base. We could be working together. This should be a time of opportunity, the first generation to see land. And there'll only be more to share in the coming years, but not if you and your queen grab what remains and hog all that land for yourselves. You're not leaving us anything. That day's chat reminded me of something Andrea told me many years ago. Listen, Minnow, if you're on your own someday, whatever you do, when someone powerful tells you don't look up, look down, watch out. I get what she meant now. I think most people understand there's a giant that they could confront if they wanted to, but they don't see how they could possibly win. They feel hopeless, but they want to get somebody. They want the satisfaction of beating an opponent. So the powerful provide them somebody else to fight, the weak, the downtrodden, those crawling at their feet. An easier target, a scapegoat. How fitting that I get to take on a giant today. Derek Zoot, Kugo Kaiser, or Globe King, is one of my favorite early Ripple suits. Inspired by a blowfish, it isn't one connected stretchy body, more of a core surrounded by dozens, potentially hundreds of floating mirror-like scales, and spines that shoot laser beams. The scales can reflect those beams, so Derek's mostly protected from his own attacks, and he can stretch by simply adding more. Thinking ahead, he stashed spare bits all over the place to replenish himself, but just decides to call them all once Minnow starts destroying the spares. Haha, I do feel like a proper planet with lovely rings like these revolving around me. This panel of Kugo Kaiser narrowing itself to squeeze between two pillars is one of my faves. Derek even tries entrapping Minnow with walls made from scales, pulling her into her doom with his propeller, and expands the whirlpool by lining it with scales, his cone of doom. I should give them all finishing moves with names like that. Holding on for dear life with one arm, Minnow spins the other arm against the current, which normally would do nothing, but by also heating the water with her plasma and filling the whirlpool with bubbles, she's able to disrupt the whole thing, at the cost of another arm. Special thanks to Wild Nor'Wester for helping me come up with that trick. Honora then drops a junked ship on Derek, the bubbles making a nice cover, though Minnow didn't intend that. Derek survives the impact momentarily, his head dislodged from his helpless modular body. Minnow rescues him by making the Zoot buoyant with her capture foam, and Derek, reattached, accepts his defeat graciously, though Lubor does not, especially once Barracuda transfers ownership of the now seaworthy Schleichen to Hack.
This isn't wise, Lubor. Remember the last time you used this body? It nearly gave you an aneurysm. I had to simplify Schleigen's processes just to make it compatible with you. Then dumb this one down too, or don't. I'll make it fit. That's how I do things. I didn't have any help getting where I am. I only got this far by refusing to let life kill me. Even as I'm reduced to this, I won't let this Minnow beat me down either.
Going back a couple pages, Kelsey speaks to Betty through sign language, referencing a book as he's only just starting to learn. He asks who captured her, and she answers Hack. It probably doesn't seem like a lot actually happened in these last couple chapters, but the dynamics between characters are quickly changing. There's a deepening of the world, a shift in the writing, and these pirate encounters are beginning to wear Minnow down. Next up, we'll wrap up Volume 3 with logs 19 and 20. That's it for today. Check out my books on Amazon and itch.io, and my Patreon page to get videos like this early, your name in the credits, behind the scenes content, a patron Discord server, signed copies of Planet Ripple, see the pages before the book's release, and maybe even your own LEGO Rewind episode. See you next time on the Planet Ripple Logs. Doodles!